Now, why it is a process? Because all these things are in sync with each other. One particular activity sets the other in motion. You cannot stop at a particular activity. For example, if you take a decision that you are going to increase your output, if you stop there, then your activity, your outputs will not increase. So when you have decided to increase your output, you must do you must take concrete steps to make sure that output does increase. You can hire new workers, you can buy new machines. So it is a chain of activity. That is why it is a process. Okay. Next, who are the managers? The managers are those people who work under the organization and who get involved in all these activities. And why do they get involved? What is their objective now? If the company profits, the company prospers, if the organization uh, earns enough profit, they will also be a part of that. Okay. So basically, what are the characteristics of management? Now, characteristics of management can be summed up as like it is universal. Like it is not only restricted to a big organization, even small organizations do have managers. Even I would say like single entrepreneurship firms also have managers in the sense that the owner is the manager here. Uh, Not to speak of big enterprises. Then their management involves creativity. It is intangible. Why intangible? Because you cannot feel it. It cannot be quantified. And it involves cooperation. It is a dynamic process. These are the essential characteristics of management. And then we have also learned about managers. We have known about the different tiers of management. Like at the very top, you have the top level managers like the CEO or the uh, CFO, etc. Can you see me? I had to join from the my mobile today, like because of a network problem. Not a network problem. The microphone was not working when Devdeep joined. I hope you can see me and hear me clearly.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. Uh, so we talked about the different tiers of management. That is the top level. Then we had the middle level and the lowest level. That is the first line managers, who basically actually get the job done from the non-managerial class, which is the workers. And then we had learned about the uh, different functions, the different roles taken up by the managers, which includes basically interpersonal role, then informative role, and decision making role. Okay, and there are also other subheadings under those. We had learned up to this. Do you remember? মনে পড়লো দেবদেব? Up to this we had done. Acha. Any question up to this? Any doubt or anything? Acha. Then today, all of you have seen the slides now. There is no doubt anywhere, no? Or is there any question which you want to ask or anything? Questions you have not seen. Acha. Never mind. But at least go through them before the exam, because otherwise I think the PPTs are a little comprehensive. So if you go through the PPTs, I think you will get some idea. I don't believe you have any book on management, right? You cannot access your. Can you access your library?
Many of them can't because their papers in the college.
Don't you have an e-library like that?
We don't
Where
have
you can
any
have
library
access to.
facility from the college.
Okay, okay. So then, please go through the PPTs. Please go through the slides, right? And I'm trying to make the slides as comprehensive as possible so that uh, you can have a fair idea. So up to this we have done. Today I'll talk about how management evolved as a subject. Now, if you remember that, if I'm going back to the early days, management as a science had not developed then. It was basically science meant medicine, science meant engineering, and there was literature. So management as a separate subject evolved much, much later. It is because of people like Mintzberg, it is because of people like Taylor, Follett, who started working on these and started building up their different theories on management. And it was because of these people that soon management formed a shape of its own and management started to be taken up as a stream of its own. I don't think like even 20 or 20, I will not say 30, even 20 years back also BBA could be learned as a separate stream, as a separate subject and all. MBA somehow probably was there, but I think BBA came into being much later. Okay. So management could be studied. It is a separate subject. This whole idea developed due to a set of people like whose theories we will be learning today. What are the names that I mentioned just now? Now I mentioned Taylor, Frederick Taylor. He is known as the father of management. Why he is called the father of management? Because Frederick, he first said that management is actually a science. It has to be dealt in a scientific way. You cannot deal it by the rule of thumb of managers. You cannot think that management is what the managers want you to do. That is not management. A company or any organization that wants to climb up the ladder of success must follow must have a set of rules, must have a code of rules which it needs to follow. Because a company might be having several managers, several of them might be leaving. So if you leave if you allow the managers to run their company on their own without, of course, managers are given lots of powers, and if the managers are good, the company prospers. All these are all right, but there should be some basic set of rules which even managers need to follow. Therefore, it is a scientific way of running a company, not running a company by the thumb of the managers. Okay. So first theory that we will learn, therefore, as I said, the father of management is, who is the father of management? It is this particular gentleman, Frederick Taylor. Okay. Why? Because he himself said that no, management is not something that you can play upon by your whims. It is science. Just like you have, a science for, you have your laws for your physics, your chemistry, and all. Similarly, management too has its own laws, its own principles. So it also follows a scientific order. Huh? And Taylor laid down four principles of management. What are they? And the first principle said, as I said, that is science and not no rule of thumb. Again, what is rule of thumb now? That means not following the winds or not working upon the signals of any particular manager. So you have to build up new techniques to make your work smooth. It is that is why it is a science. If you remember the movie, I think Three Idiots, there was this particular scene that the hero is asked that what is a machine, and he says that machine is something which makes our life easier, smoother. And the professor gets very angry initially, like why is this? Then he explains, because say anything, fan, you switch on the fan and it starts rotating and you feel cold instantly, right? Similarly, during winter season, you switch on your heater, which makes you warm. So machines are those which makes us comfortable, which makes our life easier. So similarly, management is also that it involves building new techniques and all, which eventually makes working more simple, more easy, and it can be done. The work is done in a lesser time. Okay? That is why it is science. Second is harmony is very much required. Since if you remember the definition of management, that management is a process. It involves a chain of activities. And to ensure that this chain of activities go on smoothly, you must make sure that there is an atmosphere of congeniality. If this harmony is not there, if harmony is disrupted, then management will not work. It will fall apart. Okay, so the same thing in a way is said by another theory which we will do later on today, which is called the human relations theory or the behavioral management. But how it is not only there you will see that it is not only a science, it also involves it depends upon a personal skill of the managers, like how you strike a rapport with your co-workers. So Taylor called it a mental revolution. Why? Because you must be able to strike a harmony between different departments, or even if it involves conflicting parties, you have to make sure that they come to an agreement. Okay, that is why harmony is the key to management. Third is cooperation and not individually. This is a very, very important point. If you remember, at one point, I'm talking of in the 90s, India had great players. Sachin Tendulkar, Rahul Dravid, Anil Kumble, Jawaharlal Srinath. But despite that, India was not an A-graded team in the sense that whenever there would be a match overseas, India was sure to lose it. Why? Where did India fall short? And again, the same team, under the guidance of Saurav Ganguly, after he was made the captain, things started changing miraculously. India started winning. India defeated Australia, which is history. And not only that, the whole body language of the team changed. Why? Can you tell me? Any idea? Even there was the same set of players, except that some new players were recruited. But India's winning streak changed. Can you tell me any idea why? What happened? Rupak?
Ma'am, you need to put the hybrid.
Ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
better
I have
team
no
play or
idea.
synergy?
Better team in what? The same players, probably some new players were recruited. But there was a huge change in the team. Why?
Because of
Rupak, I am
the
saying that, are you, say?
yes, ma'am. I think because of the captain's guidance.
And what did the captain do? Captain to a magician not. The captain is not a magician that he will immediately, change the old players. And the old players were already good. We had
Yes,
Sachin
ma'am. I think
Tendulkar. There was.
yes,
Mhm.
ma'am. I think the new captain put the players into the when they need in the ground.
Actually, what I think Saurav Ganguly laid down was you are playing for the team. The team comes first. Personal records, personal achievements come later on.
Yes, ma'am.
You are donning the, you know, cap of Team India, and you are an Indian player when you are going out to play. You are not Sachin Tendulkar. You are not Rahul Dravid. You are not Anil Kumble. You are an Indian player. You are representing your country. So he was able to, instill this team spirit. Earlier, when the same players were playing, and India, it's not that India always had some great players, right? But it was their individualism that mattered. Whether it is, whether it is Muhammad Azharuddin, a great player, such a great fielder, right? But then there was another young guy who shot to fame very quickly, Ajay Jadeja. Again, very, very good fielder. But it was as if they were enjoying their own popularity. All of them had their own individual characteristics. They were not bothered about what? The team. They were not bothered. They were not sitting down, working down together as a team. After Ganguly became the captain, the one thing that he did, he somehow was able to bind all these players together. He brought in new players, Yuvraj Singh, Harbhajan Singh, and he kind of united them together as if Team India was going out to play. I remember another movie, Chak De India. There was one scene where Shah Rukh Khan asked the girls, I'm sure all of you have watched the film, that please introduce yourself. And everyone says, okay, I am this, I have played for Team Punjab. I am this, I have represented, say, Goa. I am this, I have represented Meghalaya and all. And then only one girl, who later on became the captain of the team, she says her name and says Team India. So management is not about individualism. You have to work as a team. It needs cooperation. And if that means sacrificing small interests, you have to do that. Understood? So it is not individualism, it is cooperation, which is the key to management. Is it clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Somehow in our country, we always place individualism at a much higher, greater pedestal than our nation, than our team, or anything else. Very sad fact. See, all of you, I would say, even us, I will not blame. All of you think about how to, earn good salary and all. No one thinks of the country. No one, apart from those who are already there, whose parents are there in the army, or like who have some connection. Normal general public, we do not want to join the army. We do not want to join the navy like that. Very few of us do. Just think about it. We like have kind of assumed that those who are there in the army, their children will join the army only, or those who have sacrificed their lives, their widows will join the army. There is a kind of a mental block that we have. Anyway, let us come to the next PPT. It says that development in each and every person to his or her greatest efficiency and proficiency and prosperity. Now, this is actually a skill. You have to know who is good at what. I think the very first day I told this that suppose there are say 20 students in my class and I'm going to organize a seminar. So if I know my students, which is one of my first traits as a good teacher, I will give them their jobs accordingly. Say, who has a good handwriting in this class? Who has a good handwriting?
Ma'am,
Come
how far
on.
I know, Devdeep Archie.
Devdeep and
Archie, how far I know.
Archie.
Yes, ma'am.
What sort of a name is that? Archie or Orchi?
Archie, ARCHI.
Acha. Okay. So if there's something that involves handwriting, so distributing the certificates or something, then I will assign Devdeep and Archie to that job. Okay. If someone is a good speaker, okay, who is a good speaker in this class? Devdeep?
That's Sriyan.
Okay. Then I'll assign Aditi and Shreyansh to give the introductory speech, to introduce the, guests and all, to host the program. So I should be knowing that whose work, which worker has what capability, at what job he is good at, and I should be assigning them work according to their levels of efficiency. Okay, so this is the basic four founders of Taylor's management theory. What again? I repeat again. One is it is a science, not some something that a manager wishes to follow. That is number one. Number two is harmony, making sure that there is a team spirit. Number three, it is not individual, it is cooperation that we require. And number four is assign each worker according to what he or she is comfortable at, where his or her efficiency lies. Okay, these are the four basic criterion of management. Clear? Up to this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
However, there are many critics of this Taylor's theory of scientific management as well. The first criticism that comes to my mind is that, and that was later on whole theory was built upon this by Foley and others, called behavioral management theory, which says that management is not only a science, it is actually about human relations. It is about human skills. And if you just take that away and treat it only as a set of rules and all, then productivity is lost. So let us now look at the criticism. First is unemployment. The workers, they have this kind of uh, feeling that managers always try to reduce or lower the number of workers. They have a tendency to replace workers by machines because they feel that machines are more productive, or not only productive, they feel that working with a human has its own setbacks, whereas a machine you can work with a machine, let it work as much as you can. So managers generally tend to prefer machines over men, which leads to unemployment. Okay. I don't know whether you remember or whether you know this or not. I'm talking of early 80s when the computers were being brought to India. Which place was first selected where computers were to be installed? It was West Bengal. It was Calcutta. Okay. But the then Chief Minister of West Bengal, can you tell me his name then? He's the longest Chief Minister serving in the country.
And কোন টাইমটা বলছেন, which time?
In 80s?
Jyoti Basu.
Correct. Very good. So he said he felt that if computers were brought, then that would lead to unemployment. And he did not allow computers to be installed in public offices and all. And so this opportunity was lapped up by the southern state, particularly Bangalore, which soon became the hub of computers. It became the Silicon Valley of India. Okay. And many people feel that if Jyoti Basu had not taken such a step, the face of India, the face of Kolkata would have changed. Again, same kind of decision was taken much later by Mamata Banerjee when he did not allow the Tatars to start their own factory, the nano factory in Singur. And ultimately the Tatars went ahead with the project and they launched the nano from Gujarat. It did not work out, but again many people feel that if the nano factory was set up in West Bengal, because Gujaratis do not, you have to know the psyche of people in both the states. Gujaratis are very lavish people. They spend, lakhs on their weddings and all. So they do not need a 1 lakh car. But West Bengal required that. But anyway, the car itself probably had some own technical disadvantages and all. But the thing is that there is a feeling that managers tend to prefer machines over men. Okay? And that leads to unemployment. That is one of the root causes of unemployment. Next is exploitation and monotony. Exploitation, as you can understand, we are explaining this from the workers' point of view, that managers tend to exploit the workers. They tend to make them work harder and pay them lesser wages. And of course, since things are done according to a set of rules, so creativity is lost. There is monotony and creativity is lost, and since there is monotony, therefore productivity also suffers, which I was telling just now. Okay. Achha. Next is overspeeding and weakening of trades union. As I said that at the very beginning, that the main objective of managers are basically slaves at normally the middle class managers or the front line. They are basically slaves in the hands of the organization. Okay. So they have to bear the task of always keeping up the profit level high and all. And see, since they have this pressure, they pass it on to the workers that you get the work done, you have to complete the work at a very short period of time so that they don't have to pay, daily wages and all. So on the whole thing, this takes a very adverse effect on, I would say, the both the mental and the physical health of the workers. That you have to finish the work, you have to, they're so keen on curtailing the cost and all that ultimately it takes a huge toll on the workers. Okay. Now these things were the criticism from the workers' point of view. Now we come to the criticisms from the manager's point of view. Like if management is all about science, it is all about scientific technique, then what happens? Now one is that it becomes very expensive. If you become too much of digitalized, if they're only machines, if you want to run your department like a robot, then your cost will also increase. That is the main concern. Okay, because too much of what can be done with human, what can be done with the dexterity of the hand, if you put that all down in like pen and paper and everything is done through scientific way, then sometimes the overall cost increases. Okay, what is overall cost? Overall cost is fixed cost plus variable cost. What is variable cost? The variable cost is cost which can be varied. For example, labor. How much labor you need in a short period of time. These are called variable costs. And what are fixed costs? The investment on machines. So if you want to run an organization like in a very scientific way, then of course your production might increase, but your cost will also increase. Okay. And last, of course, that it becomes time consuming. That means what? Now, too much of, I would say, paperwork, too much of protocols and all often makes the work, the time taken up during this work quite high, which would have been lessened if there were not such formalities. For example, say if I can directly say do this thing, but if you want to make it scientific and all, and you say that I will be sending you a mail, I send you a mail, I get it verified from my manager, higher manager, he sends it to his manager, probably higher one, and then gets a note, and then again it comes back to me, and then finally you get a mail saying that okay, you can do this. So a lot of time is taken up during the whole process, so it becomes time consuming. So these are the flaws of Taylor's scientific theory of management. Is it clear up to this?
Yes, ma'am.
Class? Others, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay then. Achha, so we have done Taylor's scientific theory of management. I will be uploading another site which I have kept harping today, the behavioral theory of management, which says that as the criticism of Taylor's theory is saying that if you only lay stress on science and science and science, and you ignore the human bonding, the human relation in it, then creativity suffers, productivity also suffers. So the next theory that we shall be doing is that of behavioral management or the human relation school of thought, and I will be uploading the slides. It is as if a counterpart to Taylor's scientific theory of management. It was mainly developed by Musk and Elon Musk and by Follett, okay, Mary Follett. These are all different theories of management, and together they have helped to develop the subject, to help the subject to evolve. Okay.